Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs. I hope you're all doing well. I am your exhausted host, Jesse Tinder. I hope I haven't used that one before. I probably have, but we'll see. And I'm joined as always by...
It's Vera. You got to be careful. That one is pretty generic.
It is. I'm worried. I'm worried I might have fucked up there. We'll find out. We'll find out in a year's time or so.
God, we do have
Uh,
a while to go with this, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well,
There,
we're more than halfway through Battlestar Galactica. Then we got a season of Caprica, a season of it's one season of Battlestar Galactica, the original show, and then one season of Battlestar Galactica 1980 or whatever the hell it was. So we still
yeah,
got a decent chunk. So
yeah, we got a bit of God. When I put up some commissioned reviews of Stargate SG-1, and the number of people going like, you and Jesse should do this show next. I'm like, you are asking for a 5-year commitment. You
I
realize that, right? And that's just if we stick with SG-1.
And we wouldn't, because here's my thing. Because see, I thought about that when we were choosing new shows. And I'm like, God, that show is so long, but I love SG-1. And we would not just do SG-1, we would have to do Atlantis, because Atlantis is my personal favorite of them all. I would also even argue Universe, which has 2 seasons as well, is also well worth watching, even though it got canceled and ends on a cliffhanger.
So we'd be talking like a decade.
Yes. It'd be a lot of content. I mean, I definitely know I'm not going to be friends with you in a decade, so I mean,
yeah, no fucking way. God damn, I'm shocked I still put up with you.
Yeah, really. I fully expect it'll be any day now, at least according to AI, so.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. How you doing? How's things? Yeah, I know. Are you getting ready to go to the Doctor Who con next week, and I'll be able to see you in person, which is nice.
Yes, we need to work out the specifics on that.
Yes. For listeners,
so that I can have my con days planned.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's I think it should be about done now, but we had our dose of the massive winter storm that
Yeah.
hit everybody. I think we got about 18, 19 inches of snow.
Yeah. I like that's a normal amount of I lost the thread. I'm too tired. I'm too tired today. I was trying to make a piece.
I handed you that on a silver platter.
I
gave you a large number of inches, and you just had no idea what to do with it.
You usually serve me a lot of inches on a platter, so.
I know. You'd think you'd know what to do with it by now.
I never know what I'm doing. You should know
Say
better than that.
thank you and open wide.
Oh, now you're just making it explicit. That's not it. That's not even innuendo. That's just endo.
I'm too damn exhausted.
That's just endo, Vera.
Look, I am the master of the single entendre.
Yeah. No double, no triple, just single. It's just going right in. It's fine.
Everything else is a waste of time. Get to the point.
Well, speaking of getting to the point, this has been a fairly rapturous conversation. And we're talking about the oh God. We're talking about the episode Rapture. The comments from that episode here. And we have one from, where was the one that I had it right here, and then I lost it. Oh no. God damn it.
We're professionals.
No, I legitimately had it up, and then now it's oh yeah, okay, here. Huntra Coney said, quote, I think the biological essentialism, referring to the scene from that episode where Athena goes and her kid Hera seemingly recognizes her as her mother. I think the biological essentialism was probably at least semi-intended, but I had a non-essentialist reading on that scene. Athena is the first person to lovingly hold the baby since she was taken away from her adopted mother. The other Cylons in the ship are either not interested in her or only as a symbol for the future of the Cylons. This is also supported by none of the other Cylons noticing her medical issue and the baby seemingly not having any trouble when she was with her adopted mother. That said, Caprica says that baby recognized her mother, and that goes unexamined. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Lovely headcanon. However,
yes, I do like that headcanon quite a lot. That does help the scene for me. But yeah, that certainly was not the overt intention, I'm sure. So
yeah.
it's doing the thing that I hate. My particular that biological essentialist mother stuff is like my cringe comedy. What cringe comedy is to Vera.
I
So.
was gonna say it's actually kind of nice that we've hit on a trope that rubs you the wrong way as badly as some of the stuff we keep hitting rubs me the wrong way. It's nice to have you be the one who is the overtly ticked off just because it's a thing that you inherently hate. Like that's always me.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
nice to have it be you for
You're just a
once.
much more cynical person, Vera. It's
Well,
I
yes,
don't
we're all aware of that, but it's just nice to have the reminder that I am not the only cynical person. I am simply the more cynical person.
hmm I cannot read this one aloud, but Bored Barbarian has said something about Bear McCreary's music that is coming up that I will definitely agree on. If you know, you know.
Right.
Um, there's Nathaniel Fraughton calling you out for screwing up the editing on the podcast version of this episode that I just want to
Which I've
call
already
out.
fixed.
I know you did, but I'm just calling it out because you're a jerk. I'm being a jerk. See, you seem annoyed by that one, so now I'm gonna move on. I gotta click for that.
For the day that I've had, don't need your lip.
You always need my lip. It humbles you. I love you, Vera. It's understandable if you screw up some editing. I've screwed up editing too. You're doing a great job, and it is very much
Look, there's
appreciated.
better
It is
ways to
very.
put your lips to use. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying. That is true, but I'm just saying your work in editing is very much appreciated, Vera. But you
Good.
did fuck up, and I needed to call you out on it. And someone says, I think Vera deserves a click for not knowing Blinded by the Light, and that's Lizard King. And you commented on that. You said, "Oh, come on." So,
See, you said that wrong. I
oh,
didn't say,
come
oh, come.
on. Yeah,
That's what I said.
that's how you did it.
All
Uh,
caps and exclamation point. You need to get the accent right.
yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah, you do have a very particular way of saying that.
Yes, I do.
Um. Yep. Any comments that you wanted to read? Because I always try to move on, and you sometimes cut me.
I don't think so. It was a little not everyone went in for my notions about the Cylon healthcare. Some people brought up Simon, who admittedly I repeatedly forget exists because
Yes.
the show seems to forget he exists, or at least forget what he does.
Yeah, he's
Although,
around. Yeah.
although it did lend me, it did go, it had my brain go down a very dark thought,
Hmm.
though, because somebody brought up like, well, Simon has to know about, the how to treat infants because he was running the infant farm, and I had an
Not
incredibly
necessarily.
dark thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, that doesn't mean he knows what he's doing. Like, you're assuming that he would have the means, the know-how, and the desire to carefully treat every child that was born at that breeding farm. Whereas I would point out, if you were intending to do that, you wouldn't need to breed that many. Well, theoretically, you might, depending on what the specific use is, and I'll admit I don't know that. I don't even know if the show will ever come back to that. I don't count on it to do anything at this point. But assuming that it's not a specific use where many are needed, one reason why you might breed a whole bunch is because you expect a whole lot of them to die because you don't really know how to care for them properly.
Yep. Whee!
I'm just saying the fact that he was taking care of pregnant women, again, thinking of the Cylons as not being people, which I know the show fucking treats them as, but dealing with them as, well, not being human, I'll say that. They are people, they're not humans. But like dealing with the fact that I never assumed that they are going to behave in the way we'd expect humans would. I find it less interesting to just assume, oh, he was going to care for kids, so of course he knows. I think it's way more interesting to assume that he doesn't.
I assume that he wouldn't. Yeah, even
Yeah.
even as the show treats them as more human-like, I would assume he didn't. So, yeah. Well, speaking of putting controlling women's bodies. We're talking about yeah, that wasn't great. That wasn't a great one.
No.
Yeah. We're talking about the episode The Woman King today.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, is the name of the episode.
Yeah, and around the time that I realized what the title actually referred to, I did roll my eyes.
What's it referring to? I actually don't know. I know there's a movie called The Woman King that came out afterwards, but I don't know the reference here.
Mrs. King.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's so lame.
Yes. Yes, it is. Because the thing is, the phrase "the woman king" is a cool phrase, but in this case, it is just referring to a woman with the last name King.
The Woman King, yeah. There is a
Yeah.
movie called The Woman King. I forget exactly what it's about.
Yeah, I
But
remember that coming out a few years ago. I never saw it.
I
That's a
heard it was
completely
good, but
different
I
thing.
legitimately don't. I think it's a historical movie, but I don't remember any. I legitimately don't remember much about it.
Yeah,
Um,
I never saw it. I just remember trailers for it. But
yeah.
yeah, once I realized what that title was referring to, I'm like, oh, that's not very clever at all, but somebody thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Some of those like, oh, this is gonna be a good pun. I mean, I'm not above puns, but the pun needs to have a little. Like, if you're gonna make the pun the title, the pun should have a little bit more like juice behind it. You know what I mean?
See, I would say if you're gonna have a pun title, it either the pun or the episode needs to be kind of cheeky.
Yes, that's
Because
what I'm saying. Yeah, it needs a little
yeah,
bit of more
puns
punch.
puns are inherently kind of dumb.
Hmm.
Like they just are. So when you attach a pun title to an episode like this, dealing with the stuff this episode's dealing with, no, honey, no.
My favorite pun title, or one of my favorite pun titles, is Menage a Troy. From Star Trek: The Next Generation. I always thought that was a fun one.
That is a fun one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. See, that's cheeky. That one's cheeky.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That one knows is this one feels like they thought it was clever. Never assume a pun is clever. I'm not going to say there's no such thing as a clever pun, but never assume or act like you've made one.
Yeah, that's bad. That's a bad title. Well, let us get into our recap of the episode. We start off with Hilo awake, like sleeping next to Athena in bed, so he can't get to sleep. He's kind of tossing and turning, walking about the room a little bit. The next morning, Athena, they're sort of walking to work. And I will say, I kind of liked this opening bit here of just the domesticity and like everyday nature of it. Of like, it's just the two of them walking to work, husband and wife walking to work, and kind of having a conversation and checking in on each other before like she goes off to go be a Viper pilot with the other Viper pilots, as we see here. I don't know. There was just it's a moment of like everydayness to this that we haven't really seen on Galactica before, and I kind of like getting a little look into
No,
that. So
no, it's I didn't really take that in because I was more focused on trying to figure out why the heck he was up and pacing. Like I know he said he's like, oh, I had a dream. I'm like, no, it's not that. And like it becomes pretty clear it's the continued weight of the position he's currently got. But
yes.
I was a little too focused on that to appreciate it, but you're not wrong.
Yes, because yeah, he says he had a stupid dream, but Athena sort of calls him out lightly on that, and says, "Oh, you're not worried about the increase in population by 300 people that are coming in to the Galactica because we've had ongoing refugees sort of cycling into the Galactica as we've seen throughout the past few episodes."
Yeah, which I'm trying to figure out if that makes sense at this point. I I guess it does, insofar as I know they lost several ships getting to the algae planet, and like
Mm.
they had those were on skeleton crews.
Yeah, my assumption is they already were down some ships probably from New Caprica.
Yeah.
So probably not. They probably didn't have the same number of ships that they had. Well, they lost ships after the destruction at the end of season 2 of whatchamacallit, because we saw a bunch of ships get lost there. The
Oh, the
uh
nuke.
yeah, the nuke. So we had ships lost there. I'm sure they lost ships when escaping New Caprica, like some were left behind and such. And then they lost ships, but not people when they went to the algae planet, as we saw, because they were run by skeleton crews.
I think that last one is the most important because not to be the purveyor of dark thoughts this entire podcast, but while I'm not prepared to crunch the numbers, I am going to ask the question, did they lose enough people on New Caprica that they didn't even need the ships they lost?
Wow, that's dark. That's pretty dark. Damn. I mean, yeah, it's not a
It's a
not.
logistics question.
I mean, we can go and literally check the numbers. Like I
Yeah, I
don't.
haven't been writing them down and keeping track.
Now I'm actually kind of curious.
But I guess as far as the timing for when with new people coming on Caprica, it must be they're trying to more like evenly distribute whoever doesn't have a ship to go back to, so that it's not an undue burden on any one ship.
I'm trying to see if I can look it up quickly. If the Wikipedia says the number somewhere, because sometimes they'll have like the Wikipedia, like this is how many people are in this episode's number. Doesn't look like it's a readily available stat. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Whew, okay. So yeah, there's actually a graph here that I'm looking at. So we have at the right before the occupation of New Caprica, they had about a little bit above 50,000 people.
Okay.
And then after New Caprica, it is above 39,000. So about 11,000 people lost on New Caprica.
So I might well be right.
And though, oh, I guess it says rescue of the New Capricans. So I guess it bounced. I guess it's counting people in the fleet. I guess is what this says right here. So it bounces back up to 42,000. So I guess that's an odd jump. I don't know how they graphed it, but yeah, 50,000, like about 50. Oh wait, I'm looking at this graph wrong. Little under. Sorry, I looked at the numbers wrong because the numbers are spaced out weird. Sorry. Let me just be clear. They have above 49,000, little over 49,000 before New Caprica. And then after they rescue New Capricans, they have a little bit above 41,000. So that's about 9,000 people is actually the number. So they lost about 9,000, not 11,000. So
Okay.
still a significant chunk of people. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. But yeah, so they figured out the logistics of that. But yeah, they're bringing 300 new people onto Galactica, and Hilo is the one kind of in charge of dealing with all of them. He's the one organizing them. We get a quick little moment where the flight crew comes in and like sort of softly ribs. Hilo is like, "Hey, I would like to get one of those sexy cubicles you got going on down there," because all the civilians, as we'll see in short order, are kind of stuck in makeshift cubicles is where they're staying. And Hilo says, and then we get another domestic moment where he says she'll check up on Hera during work, essentially.
Yeah.
I wonder what the child care is like on the Galactica, Do they have child care? I mean, presumably they must in some way, or someone's looking after the kid. Well, we go down to, I'll just call it the flight deck cargo. I'll just call it the cargo bay for now to differentiate it from the flight deck, even though it kind of is the same thing. Down in the cargo bay, Hilo has his hands full sort of bringing in civilians, sort of trying to organize them. There's a bunch of people coming in. We obviously get to see the cubicles, the makeshift cubicles that they're doing. There's a bunch of civilians complaining about we want to be with our own, sort of differentiating themselves from we don't want to be with these people. We'll sort of note that
the instant I heard the phrase "we want to be with our own," I just thought to myself, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking hate this."
Oh, okay. It was interesting. So, yeah.
I mean, like immediate gut instinct. Because again, that sentiment, and honestly, multiple sentiments that appear within this episode. I'm not going to say that there aren't people like this. I'm not going to say you can't depict people like this. I am going to say I rarely see good stories or interesting things done with people like this.
Fair. I'm giving a game away, but I didn't hate this episode.
I don't hate it, but I damn well don't like it.
Fair enough. I mean, I'll put this up front. One thing I should note is that the actor who plays Hilo, this is context that the show does not give us. So I'll just say this. The actor who plays Hilo is an indigenous man, or his mother is indigenous. I actually looked this up because I want to make sure I got it right. His mother is part of the White River First Nation in Yukon, in Canada. And he has also been very vocal, speaking up, even I think back then, about the ways in which Indigenous people were dehumanized and also killed in Canadian history. as we saw very recently with like a lot of and this happened in America too, the
Yeah.
schools where Canadian children were taken from their parents and forced to assimilate into Canadian culture in that case, but Western culture just generally, and then often many times killed. And they found mass graves in Canada just a few years ago as well, which is something he's
Yeah.
been an advocate for talking about. So like that is something that the show does not give, but my thinking is some of that was likely informing this episode for that aspect.
Possibly. Look, I'm going to jump to the end on sort
Mm-hmm.
of one of the big hinges on this thing. So we're dealing with the Sagittarians, which have been established as particularly devoutly religious. Not 100% because Dee's one of them, and she kind of resents that. But like broadly speaking, as a group, and honestly, aside from D, they are kind of treated like a single mass
Mm-hmm.
for all intents and purposes. But they are put in the role of refusing medicine in this. That is functionally their role in the plot. And here's the big fundamental problem. And while it did not dip into the worst depictions that I've seen for characters like that,
Babylon 5.
Babylon 5 being up there for sure. While it isn't that, I still don't like it, and it's not good because no part of the end conclusion gives them any dignity outside of, oh, it's not okay to deliberately treat them worse than other people.
Oh, I agree.
There is never a backslide on the way that anyone else talks about them, treats them, or discusses them amongst each other. Like that, it is the only thing that this establishes was that, oh, when they said a specific person was doing them harm, we should have listened. And that's literally the only capitulation given to these people who are otherwise dehumanized by 90% of the cast in this show. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's okay because I think the narrative treats them the same way. I think the narrative treats them as, yes, they're foolish and backward and refusing medicine, but there's still some degree of dignity. I'm like, condescending pricks.
Yeah, that was going to be my big criticism when we got to the end of the episode as well. Is like I just wish we get mentions of their culture, but as insofar as it annoys our main characters. And I would have really liked to see like, no, this is why they do these things for these reasons, and like actually given a sense of their culture beyond just annoyance.
I think it's real important to note we never hear from a Sagittarian who believes what their reasons for refusing medicine are. We only hear it either from D or from people who are not from Sagittarian and do not believe this. The only view we get on their beliefs and why they do this is from people who disagree with it and think they're idiots.
Yes, which is my big problem with the episode as well.
Yeah, so. I think if it was going to have any merit along the lines of some of the stuff that you mentioned, I think if it was ever going to have that merit, you have to give an actual Sagittarian perspective, and they don't.
Yeah,
and no, the degree of limited dignity given to the woman king doesn't count. Yes. That is not actually giving her a perspective. That's making her a more notable prop.
Yes. And the reason I also bring up Hilo, we're already kind of jumping around, but I'll just really get it all out here as we go through.
I'm going to apologize right now, audience. Like, I've had a garbage day. So I'm going to try and not be a complete misery guts throughout this, but I'm coming in this at a deficit. That is my natural inclination today. I'm trying, and I'm sorry.
You're doing fine. I will say the reason I'm bringing up the Hilo thing is that one of my other criticisms of this is it does come across as, for lack of a better term, even though as is clear the actor is not necessarily white. It does come across a bit white saviory in terms of the structure of the episode. The context of who the actor is helps that, and I think gives there a little bit more knowledge, and it, it helps that a little bit. But the show itself does not give us that context, nor is the character of Hilo kind of presented as like learning about the Sagittarians, which would kind of help that as well. So like, the context of who this actor is gives a little bit more depth to what this episode is trying to talk about, but the episode itself does not do that. So
yeah, like whatever benefit of the doubt that I could give basically comes down to the actor
mm-hmm.
and not the script. And
Mm-hmm.
broadly speaking, unless an actor is uniquely terrible, when I complain about something, I'm generally complaining about the script.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let us actually get into keep it going with a recap.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
We got all of what 30 seconds into the actual episode.
Yeah, well, Ty comes in and sort of is helping Hilo a little bit, but then we meet Dr. Mike, who is sort of screening some of the civilians that are coming in.
Dr.
Um,
Mike, aka Dr. Robert, which wasn't confusing at all. His
yeah,
name's
no,
Michael Robert.
yeah, not at all
Ah,
confusing. But yes, Dr. Mike is what I'll try and stick with. And we learn here as he's checking out some Sagittarians that come in, they get kind of hostile towards him, one of which being the Woman King, and her son. And they say they don't believe in doctors. D kind of steps in, says, "Hey, I'm Sagittarian as well. You can trust him."
well,
Um,
the part of the point she makes is that he's a civilian doctor,
mhm.
which would imply that their big concern is seeing a military doctor, except we're going to find out later that's not true either.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't know. The
Maybe
the
there's
whole the
some.
whole the whole approach is weird.
I
It
would at least give what I think that implies is we've learned about Sagittarians in the past that they have been oppressed by Caprica and other groups. So my assumption would be that they are don't like doctors generally at all, but are probably extra distrustful of the military doctors for that reason.
yeah, I guess that tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Robert or Dr. Mike,
Mm-hmm.
however you're gonna played by a classic that guy
Yep. Yep.
actor,
Yep.
Bruce Davison, probably best known as Senator Kelly from the first X-Men movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do remember that. Okay, that's where he was familiar from. Yeah.
Exactly. Classic. Oh, that guy.
Yeah. Anyways, Dr. Mike starts checking out the civilians a little bit, but they kind of get hostile eventually towards him and say that's enough. And the next civilians come through and they also tell him to like keep your hands to yourself. And then as Dr. Mike sort of starts looking around, he sees people coughing, and just notices that there's a lot of people coughing around him. And then Saul comes up at one point and he seems to have a relationship with this guy. He's like, you owe me some money from our last card game or something along those lines. But Mike
Yeah.
says, leave, Saul, get out of here. Basically being like, get the fuck out of here because people are sick here. And he sort of tells Saul and Hilo, who comes over, that there's a sickness spreading here.
Yep.
So we got a pre-pandemic pandemic episode. um we then have Dr. Mike giving a briefing with Coddle, Hilo, Adama, and I think Ty is there as well. And we learned that this is a sickness called the Maloric sickness, which attacks the respiratory and immune system. If you don't treat it within the first 48 hours, it'll kill you in 3 to 5 days. And it's spread not through, air, it's just spread through contact, like skin, saliva, skin. And it's currently confined to the Sagittarians. And also it is treatable with a drug called betamucin. Now, a few things that happen here. Ty says they're welcome to it, so we're already showing Ty, as he normally is the voice of racism, the overt voice of racism in the room,
Yep.
as he will continue to be throughout the episode. And then we have I think Coddle sort of argues like we don't have a big stock of betamucin, we should conserve it only and only do it when they have the first symptoms.
Yep.
Uh, Adama sort of argues, no, we're going to immunize everyone in the crew so we can, limit it spreading amongst my crew. I can't have like people on the crew sort of. I can't have a lowering in productivity. I think it's his phrasing.
He says they can't spare the downtime.
Yes. And so they want to limit exposure. Hilo argues they should get everyone to the shower. To sort of have them sort of clean off so they can not spread the disease as much. But Mike argues they don't want to single out the Sagittarians. They should get the Sagittarian set, then deal with the rest of the civilians. Is his argument. So, and most of the Sagittarians, is everyone sort of acknowledges, they're going to refuse the treatment, and people are going to die. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm honestly really glad that this was made back when it was. So like I know that this
A
is not a
pandemic
COVID
episode.
allegory. This is not an anti-vax thing.
Yes.
I still don't like what it is, but at least it's not that.
Yes. Yes. Um, we then cut to the Sagittarians. They're doing some form of ceremonies and praying as we sort of see them in their space. And this is where Hilo goes up to Mike and Mike says, "Oh, does it stink enough for you?" Um,
Yeah, because of like the
the
things that
root.
the
Yeah.
scented things that they're lighting. Because yes, we have to emphasize how weird the different culture is.
Yes. And again, I don't mind this, like this depiction is some in because what I like is a strong word on this, but like what I think is gets kind of well about this is that neither like Hilo seems to be kind of a stand-up guy in this situation, but even he is kind of bothered by this, and Mike is sort of like overtly sort of saying racist phrasing, but he's not overtly like these people are horrible. Obviously, he'll start saying that later on the episode, but it's like
Hmm.
subtle. It's like a subtle like, oh, they have weird customs and they stink and are different and smell different, which is a like a low key level of racism that you will often
Yeah.
see, which I liked. Again, I wish we had been able to learn more about why they like what's important about this ceremonies and there's like the burning of the root. He says they use it as a accommodative, but my presumption would be they would have some level of ceremonial aspect to it.
Yeah.
But we don't
Yeah,
get that.
he talks about it like it's just that kind of new agey alternative medicine nonsense, but it might have more significance. Hell, for all we know, they are fully aware that they are dying and they are accepting of that, and this is part of their ritualization of that. And the ones that end up seeking treatment are the ones who are too scared despite their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That's complete and utter bullshit headcanon on my part. I'm just saying they could have done a thing
That's what I'm saying. I
and
think that's
they
the biggest.
don't.
That's like no. We'll get through this episode. Like I actually don't hate this episode because I think the beats that it kind of hits for this is like fine and it doesn't fall into anything that outright like pisses me off as much as like the Babylon 5 episode that we watched that was actively like really angering for a lot of reasons. And you can go listen to our episode on that if you want if you're curious. But I think just the big mistake for me is like we just never humanize the Sagittarians or get to learn anything about their culture other than like other people's racism, as you said. But
Yeah,
like
the extent to which they are humanized is that a character that we are already intended to like feels bad for them.
mm,
That's it.
yes, which then gets the white savory part, which is only saved just if you know the context of the actor, and it's not really
Yeah.
saved. It's
Well,
just
it's also worth noting in terms of like the optics of white saviorness. Like this is not a racialized group.
mm-hmm,
They are not made up. I'm not sure if I spotted any, but they are not made up like primarily of darker skinned people. I think that's worth noting for anyone who didn't watch the episode, since we
mm-hmm.
mentioned D is a Sagittarian. Like this is not a racialized group, which I think I'm not going to
Well,
say takes the curse off the white savior aspect, but it does mean that it's not immediately clear in the optics of it.
Well, I would argue that they are racialized in the context of the show. Like they are the Sagittarians are
Yes,
yes,
but I
but in
mean
terms
like
of like the vision, yeah,
visually,
yeah,
like
they're not played by
for
all
immediate.
Asian folks or black people
Yes,
or
exactly.
yeah.
For immediate visual, the audience goes, different group because they look like different people. It's not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. Thank God we don't hit another code of
Oh
honor
yeah,
situation.
thank God.
Yeah, we definitely that also helps put the curse off of this a little bit.
Yeah, but again, I'm not gonna compliment it for that.
No, no,
That's just
no.
not doing a bigger fuck up.
Yes, yeah, I'm not complimenting it for it. I'm just saying it means that it didn't end up being worse. It didn't end up in a
Yeah.
code of honor situation. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Which, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
which is that biggest that not that that episode doesn't have problems regardless, but the choice of the director to just cast all black people for the code of honor episode of Next Generation is what makes that episode very overtly racist. So.
Yeah.
Because it was originally, I think the original script for that episode was just supposed to be random aliens. It wasn't supposed to be the black people planet. But the director was a racist, so and not putting it only on the director. Many people had the chance to catch it and say no. So that's a systemic issue, but the
Yeah.
director is the one who
Like
instigated
this
it.
this was a show with with a showrunner and a producer and a casting director, and nobody went, hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
Yep. Well, anyways, back to this episode. Mike Dr. Mike has a sort of fatalistic view on this. He says they're all going to die anyway, so why bother or whatever is kind of his sentiment. So he's sort of like, he's sort of written them off, essentially. Yep. We then have a quick check-in in the larger ongoing plot of the season as we have Roslyn informing Zarek that there's going to be a trial for Baltar. And she's like, look, we'll have a trial, we'll do all the stuff, and a verdict will be read, it will be guilty, and we'll do it. We'll do all that. And Zarek is like, no, you're about to get a hurricane. You do this, the media will descend on you, there'll be assassination attempts, there'll be civil unrest. This trial will bring down this entire fleet. And Tori sort of argues like, well, we have a plan. If there's unrest, we'll do Marine deployment, which you gotta love the state use of force there. Huzzah! Yeah. Not relevant at all. I'm glad we're casually tossing that around. But that is part of that. But Zarek sort of says, you should declare martial law during the trial. Is sort of his advice, and he's like, I'll be here if you need me. He's like, I'm out. Yeah.
Now, like one thing I really appreciate about this scene is like after he leaves, Rosalind notes like, I've never seen him like that. Like he's legit scared. I'm glad she notes that because without her noting that, I would have almost considered it a continuity error that Zarek is like, you should be prepared to call for martial law. And I'm like, really? Zarek of all people. So like, I'm glad it gets noted by her. Like, that's unlike him. I'm like, okay, good. That means you did it on purpose and you didn't fuck up. Yes. This is something that I have. I think the main thing, like where I really solidified this was during the Chris Chibnall era of Doctor Who. It's like, look, you can do the plots you're doing. I just need a line here or there to make it clear to me that you're doing this on purpose and you're not just fucking up. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Just one line from Rosalind's like, that is not like him. I'm like, oh, good. You did it on purpose then. Cool. Like, I may or may not like what you do with it doing on purpose, but at least I know it's not a fuck up. The other thing is, I'll be real curious to see how much, because he brings up the media, I'll be real curious to see how much the overall optics of this are dealt with, because it's a situation where, regardless of what anyone thinks should or shouldn't happen to Baltar, especially at this point, with such a small population, such a small government, and such a consolidated government, there is no running away from the optics of the president is prosecuting not only the person who was in the position before her, but who beat her in an election. Like, regardless of what you're charging him with, regardless of what he did or didn't do, those optics do not help and will never go away.
Oh God, it rings too real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whee!
If he doesn't die in office, Trump should absolutely be tried for the stuff he's doing. However, even as I say that, I understand the optics of
that was why the Biden
of prosecuting a former president, especially if that prosecution is led by the opposition party, which in the case of Battlestar Galactica, it kind of has to be. There's nobody else. Yes. That puts you in a dicey situation, no matter how justified you are.
Not saying I agree with it, but it was one of the reasons that the Biden administration was so reticent to pursue action against Trump.
Yeah. So like, I don't agree.
Yes.
I absolutely don't agree with that decision. However, I do understand it. It was a stupid decision, but I do understand how it was arrived at. Just how, and like, I'm not, some people have really decided to like canonize Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm still mad at her for not retiring.
Oh yeah, no.
I understand why she didn't. It was wrong, and I'm still mad about it, even though she's dead.
Well, moving on, we have Hilo kind of has a makeshift office, and there's sort of a line of civilians sort of bringing complaints.
You call it a makeshift office. It's more like he has this little carved out spot closet, amongst mountains of paperwork.
Yes. So yeah, people backed up and sort of coming to him to complain. And there's some people again being kind of racist, saying like we're not sick, send back the Sagittarians, sort of expressing that. But Mrs. King comes up, or Miss King, I don't know if she was married.
Miss, it is Mrs.
Yeah, Mrs. King
Like
comes up.
a husband never shows up, but she is addressed as Mrs. King throughout the episode.
Well, she comes up and she says, "My son is dead," and Hilo initially sort of assumes that he died from the sickness because they didn't get treatment. He's like, "Well, I'm really sorry. It's you didn't get treatment in time." And she's like, "I made a mistake at one point." And he's like, "Good, good. Now go tell the rest of the Sagittarians to get the medicine." But then,
well, see, he doesn't say that. He says, "Oh, good. Go tell the rest of them that you made a mistake." Because, which is a little bit of contrived writing, because it's like you're just having him walk into a verbal trap.
Yes. But yes, she reveals that no, she did get medicine. She actually went to Dr. Mike to get it in time. And she said she died because Dr. King killed her son. And Hilo initially kind of rejects this.
Dr. Mike or Dr. Robert?
Sorry, Dr. Mike.
It's Mrs. King.
Sorry. I'm too many names mixing up here, but yes. Dr. Mike, she says Dr. Mike killed her son. Hilo initially is very defensive against this. Is like, you probably waited too long. And she says, well, he was 19 and he'd been sick than less than 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so this sort of like strikes Hilo as odd.
Yeah.
So, Hilo goes to question Mike about this. I had the right names. I just put them in the wrong order. I wanted to be a active voice instead of passive voice. Instead of Mike was questioned, I said Hilo goes to question, huh? All right, I'm getting, grammar. All right.
You go get grammar.
I go get grammar good. All right, Vera. Hilo goes to question Mike. And Mike sort of mentions like, "Oh, we lost another one last night," and he assumes he meant Mrs. King's son, but he's like, "No, a 3-year-old boy." And Hilo sort of asks about Mrs. King's son and says, "Oh, he was a goner. You saw him. He was 3 days symptomatic." So that's his story. Is his take on events. And he said, Hilo asked, "You explain this to the mother?" And he's like, "No, yeah." It's like, "Yeah, what do I say? Sorry, ma'am, if you had turned the corner on your religious crap a little sooner, you could have saved your son." So again, some casual racism there. And he quickly at that point he says, "I'm going to inoculate you, Hilo." And Hilo's like, "I thought we were rationating." He's like, "Well, if I don't inoculate you, who else is going to help me?" And he sort of compliments Hilo, saying like, "Hey, Ty was asking about you, and I said you're doing a hell of a job." So I do, again, this is another moment that I do like, because ultimately we're learning that Mike is very much a racist, but there is these subtle things that he's doing here, which are like very just casual things where he's valuing Hilo more, sort of saying like, "Ignore the rules, you get preferential treatment, I'm going to give you." And there's a level of like, this makes sense to inoculate Hilo. Is going to be around these people a long time, they kind of need him. So there's a reasoning to it. But it is still him valuing Hilo overtly. And then he also does the sort of like buttering Hilo up a little bit, being like, "Hey, I'm going to say good things to your boss." So maybe Hilo sort of like gets either turns the other way for the compliment, is kind of his intention, or instead of Hilo gets distracted by the, I'll fall in line and sort of not really worry too much about these things because I want to get the compliment. So,
yeah.
So I did like those things. I thought those were like kind of interestingly subtle things that were going on with Mike there. So, all right, then we get into the scene that makes me hate the chief, which is we're at the bar, the new bar set that we're at, and people are sort of playing kind of pseudo pyramid. They're throwing a ball into the pyramid hoop, sort of like a weird mix of pyramid and darts, I guess.
Yeah, like, here's the thing. You had told me before, like, they never knew how pyramid the game worked. This is the first scene where it feels like that.
Yeah.
Because pyramid has been shown to like be a contact sport, and like, yeah, you can throw it in, but like half the time people are like diving in and getting it directly. I suppose I suppose having that in the bar is kind of like the equivalent of having
like darts or a
um
hoop or something. Yeah.
yeah, having like one of those things at the arcade with the basketball hoop, and like you're just shooting the hoop and
That was
taking out
my
all the
impression.
running the court.
Yeah, that was kind of a vibe of like, those little like, you sometimes see them in bars where you have the little like circular ring and you're supposed to like throw it to try and catch it on the hook. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, this is a game that I play a bunch in bars. Like some bars, it's a silly game. It's a cheap and easy game to do, and it passes time in bars really well. But you just get a long string, you get a metal circle, and then you put a hook on the wall, and you get it so that the string is taut, so it just barely reaches the hook. Like the ring will fit on the hook, but it's so taut that it just barely does that. And then the game is you just take it off the hook and you're supposed to stand far back and then just sort of like try to throw the ring so it like catches the hook in the right way. You have to kind of arc it. You can't like throw it right at it. You have to like kind of arc it so it just catches the hook. It's a fun dumb like bar game. I don't know. I played it a bunch.
Okay, I've never seen that anywhere.
Listeners, get in the comments.
Don't do this to me again. Don't do this to me again,
do
you
it to
bitch.
do it to me again. I don't know what the game is called, but I do know it's a fair like there's literally I played it. It was a game in my bar where I worked at a summer camp, and it was like a game in the bar in the middle of the woods that we would go to when I worked at the Boy Scout summer camp for years. It's literally at the bar that I go to around the corner from my house right now. They have some of this. It's like I don't know how it's like overly ubiquitous, obviously not if you haven't heard of it, but it's like it's a decently well-known game.
I've seen darts, I've seen plenty of pool. Now, I will grant that I don't go to bars often, and if I do, it's usually bars with performance spaces which tend to have minimal gaming.
Yes. So
So,
I mean, yeah, this is the
I,
reason it's popular is it's a simple game. You need a string, a hook, and a ring. That's it. So yeah. And I guess something to screw it up into the ceiling as well, so like a nail. So all fairly easy things to do. But yeah, listeners, get in the comments. Have you heard about this game? Tell Vera she's wrong, and she's been blinded by the light on this one. Love you, Vera. Don't hate me. Anyways, they're playing pseudo pyramid, I guess is what I'll call it, skee ball pyramid. And people start asking. Hilo shows up at the bar. People start asking Hilo, "Oh, I heard it's rough down there. If you're a Sagittarian, seems senseless, sort of thing." And then the chief starts spouting his kind of more overt racism, where he's like, "Oh, it's bad enough we have to sweat in their stench because he can smell them from the other side of the flight deck. But now we're scared. I'm scared we're gonna have to share the medicine because these frackwads saw the light and we gotta share."
mm-hmm.
Apollo, at least to his credit on this one, is like, "Hey, Chief." He tries to softly do it first, like, "Hey, are you gonna throw? Like, maybe shut up." And then he gets stronger about it. Partially in defense of like he's saying this about D, or he's saying about Sagittarians, and D is a Sagittarian, so she's in the company. Um, and D sort of says like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm Sagittarian. I have enough reason to be mad at them as well. They're paranoid, pig-headed, and argumentative. And medicine is seen as an abomination of and that the body and mind are myth." Is sort of what she describes the cultural reasoning for this.
Yes.
For their dislike of medicine. So yeah, going to your point, we already talked about this ad nauseum of the only Sagittarian we see express the culture of the Sagittarian's belief is from someone who herself does not believe it, even though she's from that culture. So
Yeah.
Yes. And Dee said, I'll go see Doctor. And she makes a point of saying like, "I'll go see Dr. Mike if I get sick." So
Yeah. Well, she says that she does actually give a reason, which is an odd one. It seems like we have to give some reason as to why she go to him and not Doc Coddle. And she like has a line about, "Oh, he's so nearsighted when he gives you a shot, he might as well be using a spike." I'm like, okay. Like just that line felt very reverse engineered because somebody realized we need a reason she will later in the episode go to him instead of Coddle.
Yeah, which makes no sense. It really doesn't. I honestly the way I would have argued it is that like, oh, he has probably the predominant supply of the drug. That I would have just said like, oh, it's just easier to get it from him than Coddle because he's the one dealing with it at the moment. Seems like that would have been a way more less contrived reasoning.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we then have Athena in the brig with Head 6. So this is a quick little scene, and Athena's checking in on, excuse me, not Head 6. Apologies, Caprica 6. She's in the brig.
Yes.
Yes. Athena's with Capra 6 in the brig. And Athena's sort of checking in on her. It's like, they're treating. She's like, oh yeah, they're treating me well enough. Athena thanks her for what she did, bring herself and Hera over to the Galactica for them. I'm not entirely sure why you did it. And at this point, we get the reintroduction of Head Baltar,
who steps into frame with a little musical sting. And I kind of like it because we haven't seen him in a while, and we haven't seen him since Caprica 6 has been on Galactica. So having this sort of musical sting as he steps into frame, I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah, I always like Head Baltar when he shows up, and he'll be more regular as the show goes around. He'll be about as regular as Head 6 is to a degree.
Oh.
So I do like Head Baltar. And he sort of is like, yeah, what are we doing here? Talking to Caprica 6. How could you possibly throw yourself at the mercy of these people? And then Athena sort of starts arguing to Caprica 6, like, well, you should help them expose Baltar's crimes. It will probably end up looking good for you. It'll help you, is basically what she's saying. And she thanks you. She says, thank you for the visit, Head 6, or Caprica 6 does. And we also see during this that Rosalind is listening in to this conversation.
Yes. Along with Tori.
Tori, yes. And Head Baltar starts, as Athena heads out, Head Baltar continues to talk to Six and says, do you think any of them actually care about you? And she says, I imagine they don't. And again, he reiterates, what are you doing here? And she says, I'm here to save Head Baltar basically argues, you're here to save him, aren't you? Presuming actual Baltar.
Yeah.
So that's kind of her reasoning. And she says, you're here because you want to be human, but there's a trick to being human. You have to think only about yourself. And then Head Baltar goes to kiss her. So
yeah. And it's, you're here because you want to be human. And I just wrote down in all caps, fucking why, though?
That one will get explained, but no.
It be not like, look, at this point, I think the mistake, at least for me, that the show has made with to what extent the Cylons and or which ones of them want to be more human or emulate humans or be treated like humans. I think they have strung that out too long for a very specific reason. Because it's not strictly speaking the amount of time that has passed. It's because too many things have happened that the meaning completely flips depending on what the answer to that question is of why. And this was one of my early issues with the Cylons, was trying to keep this super state of all these options in my head that completely changes depending on what the answer is. And you may or may not have noticed, I eventually just fucking gave up trying to keep track of it. And it's because I'm burnt out. It's because the show went too long having them do stuff that doesn't make sense based off what I do know, which means I have to speculate on 50 million things that I don't know. And again, I understand some people really get into that. I don't. I'm not that kind of viewer. And so at this point, I'm just sitting back waiting for the fucking answer.
Yeah, fair.
And getting mildly resentful whenever they do a new thing that I'm like, and why though?
Yeah, no, absolutely fair. Well, Head Baltar kisses her, and we cut to Rosalind, and she sort of says, "What do you think she's doing now? She's talking to someone. I've seen her do it before, because they kind of see her making out. She's making out with Head Baltar. Yeah.
It cuts back to her briefly, and she's like, with the air. I'm like, I love that they showed that. What I would like them to do, and I really hope it happens at one point, because if she's saying I've seen her do that before, I want to poke her in the back and be like, you've seen someone else do that. You've seen someone else do that. Who else have you seen do that? We'll see. I would like that. I would like that to happen, because that would be a really
compelling, interesting.
No, I'm trying. It would really show her levels of observation and I don't want to say in necessarily intelligence, but just the amount that she's paying attention and putting stuff together. It would speak well of her to remember she's seen other people do this.
Well, I won't say anything. We then cut to a crowd of people sort of going after Dr. Mike, sort of yelling, he's a murderer, sort of mini riot in the making here around Dr. Mike going on. Hilo pulls a gun to sort of get them back. And
Because
people
that
says,
always calms things down.
yeah, yeah, always does great. And he said, people say like he killed my father. Um, and and so Hilo sort of goes over to him and is like, well, what happened? Like, did they change their mind? They're fundamentalists. Did they change their mind on that? And he's like, and Dr. Mike says, no, I administered the Betamucil, the cure, on my own. What was I supposed to do? The old man was screaming in pain in the night. And Hilo's like, well, we're supposed to be rationing this. Like, why would you do that, especially if he was too far gone? And Dr. Mike sort of kind of gives a bunch of conflicting things. He's like, oh, well, he was a marginal case. I'm not going to explain myself to you.
Yeah, he has this thing that's like it varies. Like there is a window, but it's not a hard line. Like it might have still worked, but I mean, like that is the bigger hole in his story. But both the show and also Hilo, Hilo doesn't entirely gloss over. He does bring it up, but the show does kind of quickly move on from. I'm sorry, you administered medicine to someone who not only didn't consent to it, who you are 95% positive would decline it if they were in a position to be asked. You did what?
Yep. Which is unethical. Which, to be fair, like obviously his story is bullshit. That's not what he did.
Yeah, no,
but
we know that.
Hilo does bring it up in this next scene because he goes to Adama, Tai is there, and Coddle to present this evidence and sort of present that he's
like, to be clear, because I remember some of the arguments that happened when I got pissed off at Franklin on Babylon 5. To be clear, I'm not saying doctors have no right to administer medication to people who are not in a position to consent. I'm not going to have that debate. I don't know what the actual ethical guidelines on that are. What I am going to say is, if you know to a high degree of certainty that if asked, they would say no, and you just do it and don't ask, fuck you.
Yeah.
And so don't defend that.
Yes, I think, yeah.
And like, even outside the context of what we ultimately find out he's doing, even if it had been medicine, that's fucked.
Oh, it is. That is fucked. And I don't think the show necessarily glosses over because Hilo brings it up here. It's like he's being like, because basically he points out the inconsistencies of all these stories. Like I think he's actually killing them. He's basically what he's arguing. He's like, his version of events differed from that of Mrs. King's. The boy still died. He treated a man, and he even says here he treated a man without consent. Like Hilo brings that up, and I think his argument ultimately is like, look, he may be killing these people, which I'll talk about like the reaction to that in the room, but Hilo's also is like, regardless of if that's actually happening, he's certainly being unethical. Which I think he makes that case as well.
Yeah, I'd say that from everyone involved in this episode, Hilo comes off the best. And not just because he is written to be the one who is right. Like he is actually making a decent argument.
Yeah. So let's see. So he's making those arguments, and he's like, we should be trying to respect their customs, and that's the point. He didn't respect them. Again, going to the unethical element of this. And he's basically, Hilo says like people are dying under his care, and Coddle makes the argument that, well, it's like that comes with the job. People are going to die under your care, and then Hilo goes, but killing doesn't, and that's when he makes the insinuation that Dr. Mike is killing these people.
Yeah.
And Tai says that's out of line. Mike Roberts deserves better. My best friend, who I've never mentioned until now, deserves better than that.
Yeah, it does reek of that kind of.
Yeah.
So, and like, again, I get it. Logistics, that they didn't know they were going to do something with this character later, so there was no reason for him to, like, I understand all that, but ultimately we are still telling a story where a character is going, he's my real good friend who even did some stuff during periods where like the show was showing stuff, but he just wasn't on camera.
Yes. My best friend who was always just over there.
Yeah. Because he's going to mention later, like, he's the one who patched up my eye. I'm like, oh, okay. Just there, off screen.
Yeah, he does make that mention. He's like, sir, not appearing in this film. Yeah.
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 Which, again, nobody's fault. but you also didn't have to write it like that where it's gonna jump out at me so much.
Yeah. So Hilo makes the arguments like he might be like there's a situation going on down here, even if he isn't, doing that. So like that's a big issue. But Adama stands up and says, I have Baltar in a prison cell, I have a Cylon woman and a population who would love to tear all of them apart. We have an epidemic going on. So the question is, can you do your job? And are you going to stop making these unfounded accusations? Which basically just putting Hilo in his place and choosing not to go do any of this, and he dismisses Hilo. So,
yep.
Hilo's Dama sort of like, I got too much shit going on, just get it fucking dealt with, and passing the buck essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So Hilo sort of is frustrated. We can clearly see he's frustrated leaving that meeting, but then Ty sort of chases him down. And he basically says he basically is doing the bro code, the sort of like cult of it feels a lot like it's not the same thing because they're not exactly in the same job, but it very much feels like the cult of cops. I forget what is the one that we talk about with cops a lot when
Well, they have a code of silence.
Yes, code of silence,
yeah.
which is not the same thing, but it's like it's like this sort of like we protect each other, like stop riding in my trust him, he's my friend sort of thing.
Well, interestingly, arguably, going by some research, that actually does happen with doctors as well. Like the level of malpractice that you have to engage in to get your license taken away is insane. And research suggests that part of the reason for that is the board of people who decide whether or not you keep your license are also doctors.
Yes,
who have a tendency to bias in favor of their colleagues.
No, there was a very good called Doctor Death, a very good series called Doctor Death. They made a TV show based off of it, and there was some stuff about this guy who was doing like did not know how to actually do surgery, like legitimately was like leaving, like I think he left like part of his like glove in a person inside of a person, was like doing things on people and would never actually get called out on it. They would be like, they would either be this sort of like cult of silence, like we're not gonna chase after him because we're doctors, we want to protect our own. But then also even some places that kind of knew this was going on, they're like, well, we'll be on the hook as a hospital for his malpractice, so we'll just sort of like say, nope, nothing happened here, but silently transfer him to another hospital so they don't have to deal with him anymore. And this was allowed to go on for a very long time.
The Catholic priest shuffle. We all know that one.
Yes. Yep. Was the exact same thing. Anyways, so there's that
which just goes to prove that bodies that require some sort of governing authority to deal with bad actors, they kind of need to be outside of that, because otherwise you just have a group protecting itself. That is inevitably what happens.
Yep. But yes, but Ty basically throws in Hilo's face like, Mike Roberts is the only one who's said anything good about you. So like Hilo is definitely not on anyone's nice list. And so Mike, like again, I do like this bit of like this appeal to like get in line because it's good for your career sort of argument here. That feels very real. So basically Ty's like, shut up, he's it'll hurt your career less, and also he's my friend, and you don't say bad things about my friend, I'm going to ignore the actual evidence and things in front of me. And then he sort of it's like, you're throwing out your credibility, you just like be on the outside looking in. To which Hilo's like, you talking about my wife? And again, Ty sort of argues like, he's a stand-up guy, a Capricorn, one of our own, is his phrasing. A man I can trust. You work with resistance, basically like, patched to my eyes, you said, all while you were snuggled up in bed with your Cylon wife, which Hilo punches him in the face, which, absolutely fair.
Yes.
Not that I'm saying you solve problems of violence, but yeah, fuck Ty for that.
Yeah, like, look, if somebody's got to get punched for a statement, that's a statement that you can punch somebody over.
Yes, very much so. Some guards come over and seemingly are gonna take Hilo in for punching Ty, and Ty sort of shoos him away as like, you do give a frack about what your friends think, as it should be, but you keep soiling Mike Roberts' good name and we'll finish this, essentially. So like threatens him if he keeps pursuing this.
It's Robert singular, which was part of what was annoying about his name.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just screwing it up all over the place. Sinclair Sheridan all over again.
Not
Anyways.
even close, but sure.
Yeah. Hilo sees Mrs. King in a food line at one point, so a little bit of like, oh, I feel some sense of responsibility to these people visually being told there. And then we have a scene where Hilo and Athena are talking, and Hilo's kind of venting to her. Oh no, so excuse me, I skipped ahead here. Apologies. Athena goes to Hilo and says Hera is sick. And she's sort of they just learned about this. And Hilo says, and she said, I'm taking her to Dr. Mike. And Hilo says, I don't know if I really like this when, Dr. Mike is about to administer the inoculation, or the cure, I should say. And Athena insists, like, no, we're doing this, like, do this for our kid. So Hilo's very worried about maybe Dr. Mike is, I think the implication is he's worried that because this is a Cylon kid, he's also going to be racist and maybe kill his own child. And he says, give her 6 hours and take her home. And then as Athena and Hera leave, Robert says she'll be fine. And then Roberts also gives Hilo a bracelet that he says she should give back to. It was her son's bracelet that Mrs. King should give back. So Hilo then goes to see Mrs. King and gives her back her son's bracelet. And Mrs. King sort of asks Hilo, "How is your daughter?" And she's, and he says she's fine. And then he says, I need to ask you something. Why let Dr. Mike treat your son? You were warned about him. And as she says, I didn't believe anyone could have that much hate in them. Hilo continues to try to ask her a little more questions, but she says, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I'm done. And Hilo sort of stops pressing the issue. So
yeah, which is a minor thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that is such a writing contrivance that happens. Like somebody with vital information is like, I don't want to talk anymore. Exit scene left.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that it never gets justified, but it's frequently this kind of flimsy, like it's like doing all the options in a dialogue tree. Thank you for this conversation. I have no more things to tell you. Goodbye.
Yeah, because the implication is, I think that like there is a sort of whisper network thing going on of like, hey, Dr. Mike is killing us overtly. And I mean, people are saying that overtly, but presumably from based on her reaction to Dr. Mike when they first came into the Galactica way at the top of the episode, the implication is that this is information that was known about Dr. Mike.
This was something that was already being said about him.
So this was known, and like people talk. I agree, like the frustration of her not just telling him that. What I do like though is the sense that they don't say, because they presume no one's going to believe them anyways, and they've built up a whisper network around it, but they don't say anything to anyone in authority because they think they'll just get punished more or hurt more.
I agree with that.
At this point, Hilo has shown enough initiative to do this that
it's not even that. Like you can cover that with just one line from her saying, I don't want to talk about this. You're not going to listen to me anyway. You never do.
Mm-hmm.
And like that would cover for it better than just, I don't want to talk anymore.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Yeah, true. But I do like the implication of that being a thing. That is another element of this. Like I said, I'm pointing out things here where I just think the biggest sin of this episode is really just not giving us any humanization to the Sagittarians, which is very important. But all the other elements of this, I think it does get some subtlety and nuance of some of these things.
Yeah, correct. I'm going to debate your wording a little bit. I don't think it's that they're unhumanized. I think it's that they have no perspective.
Yes.
They are a function of the plot, and like I suppose they're unhumanized insofar as they don't really rise above being functions in the plot, but they are not deliberately dehumanized as a group. But it is a matter of they are never granted an actual perspective to bring to things.
Yes, that's basically what I mean. Is like,
yeah, I know that's what you meant. I was just disagreeing with the wording that you were using to say it.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that's still dehumanizing to not give people perspective or thoughts and still treat them like props. But whatever, it's fine.
Oh, put them up. Come on, let's go.
Fisticuffs. But yes, no, I agree. But I mean, I think that's just the biggest sin of the episode. Like the rest of this stuff, I like. There's quibbles I have as we're going through, as we were talking about. But I do think it gets a lot of that other stuff right. But yeah, I just wish we had gotten their
I mean,
perspective.
I don't disagree, but I also think that's a fatal sin for
Oh,
this
I
for a story like this.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I do think that it is a big problem. It's. I'm not saying it's good or like excusable.
Okay.
It is a big problem. I'm just saying there is some good in this episode. It's not dismissed based off
Yeah.
of you know what I mean. Anyways, we then have this is the scene I was referring to before, where Hilo is sort of venting at Athena about everything, and Athena's sort of like, "What? Do you hate your job? Is that what's going on here?" He's like, "No, I don't hate my job. It's what I see every day. It's hard to not see it. I keep ending," and then he sort of like starts chastising himself. It's like I keep, and this seems like the show sort of being very meta on this, where he says, "I keep ending up on the wrong side of everything. Maybe Ty's right. Maybe I'm flying desk because I'm not the right guy for the job. Not because I'm the right guy for the job, but because I cross the line in every situation. Everybody knows it. Maybe I belong in Dogsville," which is the name of the area that the people are in. Which does sort of seem like we've had the show being like, yeah, we have Hilo be the disliked voice of moral authority in the show quite often. So,
Yeah.
um, or at least the person with the most immorality in the room is often his job. And Athena says, yeah, you should just leave it. It's your job to manage these people. You just got to do that. Um, yeah, and he's like, yeah, and he kind of says sarcastically, he's like, yeah, you're right. It's me. It's all in my fracking head. And he sort of heads out. And he says, I don't know where I'm going. So,
I actually kind of like this scene just
oh, me too.
because,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like a very reasonable and realistic friction between a largely functional couple, which is that, like, in a situation that is wearing him down and he doesn't know what to do about it. And there isn't a whole lot that she can do to help him. And yeah, just him talking about it doesn't lighten his burden. It just makes him more aware of, all the stuff that he currently can't fix. But simultaneously, it does not blow up into
Mm-hmm.
like some big, overshooting nonsense. He does, I think, a very mature thing, which is, I'm going to take a walk because, like, if we keep talking, it's not going to help, and it might even make it worse. But I also don't need you. You don't have to be subjected to what I'm going through. So I'm going to take a walk. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I've had these exact moments with my own partner. I'm sure many partners have, where it's like I'm dealing with something very frustrating, like there's some YouTube nonsense bullshit that I'm dealing with that just I can't do anything about, and I've tried to vent about it, and my partner's just like, maybe you just gotta like just get through it. There's nothing you can do, just get through it, and that's all the advice that she can really give, just because that's all she can do in that situation, and that's not helpful to me, and so you're like, all right, well, this isn't going to resolve anything, so I'll just I'll go somewhere else. Like it's part of being in a relationship. So I've literally had this exact scene in my own relationship before. um Anyways, Hilo then goes to Dr. Cottle's office. Cottle is not there. And he starts searching through the files that are there, and he's starts doing some investigating. But then Cottle shows up, and he's like, "You better find your basically you better find a bed. You'll get more sleep, and you better get your ass out of here." Essentially, he's like very frustrated and angry that Hilo's there, and Hilo starts presenting Cottle with some evidence. Like, look, he killed him on New Caprica. You like look at all this. Like, people go in, like this Sagittarian went in for a cough and he died of heart failure. Does that make sense? Look at his stats. Like Capricorns, oh, he likes Capricorns. Only 6% of Capricorns died. 80% of Sagittarians who went to see him died.
Yeah.
That should tell you something. He's singling out Sagittarians. That doesn't bother you. And Kadosari is like, well, tell me exactly what he's doing. Do you have anything that you can tell me that he's doing? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And Kato goes, that's the first sensible thing that you've said. And he's like, I don't know medicine. He's like, Kato, you're not going to let it go. And Hilo sort of makes it. I was like, look, I will let it go if you just check. Like, go check Mrs. King's son. Just do the autopsy and
Whose
like,
name is Willie of all things.
yeah, go check Willie. Uh, And if you check him and you say nothing's there, I'll let it go. And Coddle just says, I already did. He had bitamucin in his system. Now that's it. Just
Yeah,
leave and
he
get out
he
of here.
died of the whatever the hell they said the disease was, and he had the drug in his system.
Yeah, so corroborating Dr. Mike's story, essentially. So, and he's like, yeah, leave and get out of here. So Hilo, sort of surprised to hear this, sort of is walks out defeated, essentially. Um, we then cut to D is clearly very sick, probably with this disease, and she goes to see Dr. Roberts. Hey, look at that setup, that payoff to that setup. And she does the meme. She literally says, "Can I get some of that bitamucin?" It's just screw Dave Chappelle, but I do always think of that meme of like you got some of that cocaine or whatever the meme is. So
Yeah.
yeah. Screw Dave Chappelle, but she did the
Yep.
meme. She did the meme. I am become meme, as Elon Musk would say.
I am become meme, the destroyer of minds.
Yeah, Jesus
Look
Christ.
upon my works, ye brain rotted and despair.
Oh God, it's too true. Anyways, Hilo is woken up by a knock on his door. He grabs his gun initially, but he opens the door and it's Mrs. King. My initial thought was, well, how is she allowed to roam the hallways? That does get brought up because the guards come and grab her later on. It's like, oh, sorry, she got out. We
Yeah.
sorry to have her bother you. But my initial thing is like, how the hell is she allowed to just go up to his door? Thankfully, that's
Yeah.
discovered.
She's not. Again, just a small moment that makes it clear, like, we know that shouldn't have happened. See, we know. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, she tells him like Dee is sick and she went to Dr. Mike when we lost two more murdered by the doctor. So then the soldiers come and take her. Um, and so this sort of gets Hilo, ready to like head out. He's like, I gotta go do something. It's
Gotta have his
Duala.
big damn hero moment.
She's like, she has a husband. He's and Apollo is flying out Cap. Well, Athena says, well, she has a husband. You don't need to worry about it. And he's like, yeah, he's flying out Cap, so it has to be me. Um, and he sort of argues with
Not
her.
not to mention, she has a husband who's kind of shit to her.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. So yeah. And Hilo is sort of working himself up. It's like, I gotta go do something. And Athena's like, hey, basically is arguing, hey, you don't need to do that. And he sort of snaps at her. He says, oh yeah, because as long as everyone's focused on the Sagittarians, they'll forget you're a Cylon for 5 minutes. Which rightfully gets Athena angry, as
Yeah,
well she
not
should.
called for.
Yes. To be clear, I want to say, like, I understand it. Again, this is a
Yeah.
moment. It's like kind of. I've had these moments in our relationship where you say something stupid just out of because you're dealing with other shit, and you say something mean that you didn't intend. So but she rightfully pushes back and is like, "Hey, I have to fight every day to be accepted on here." It's like, then he goes like, "Look, it's not about you. You think that's my defining characteristic, being the guy that's married to a Cylon?" This guy's dirty, and I think he's killing people because he's a racist son of a bitch. So,
Yeah.
yep. We then see Hilo running down into the Dogtown, and he sees Duala is there, and she's sick and passed out. We could get kind of a commercial break in here where it's sort of the, oh, is she dead already sort of moment. Obviously, she's not.
Well, obviously Hilo doesn't know how to properly check for a pulse because he like checks and he's like, no, 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 no. And then she like kind of wakes up and like, dude, you don't know how to check at all, do you?
Yeah, it felt like a very contrived, like, ooh, we gotta have a cliffhanger. She's already dead moment for the commercial break.
Yeah.
But anyways, Dr. Roberts, she is alive. Dr. Roberts comes in. He says, I gave her something, that, like knocked her out. And he's like, Hilo's like, I'm taking her to Coddle. I'm doing this. And this starts causing a scene because Duala, who is sick, is like, no, I don't really want to go. And Mike's like, you can't take her. She's too sick. She has to stay here. And Hilo gets sort of obstinate about this. Some guards start coming over. Mike starts, at this point, as things are sort of getting heated, Ty and Coddle come in. Basically, Robert starts, like, Ty sort of like yells and sort of stops the things from continuing to escalate. And Robert sort of, Dr. Mike says, I'm not sure what crusade you're on or who you're trying to impress, but seriously, it's not going to work. Hilo says, I know what you're doing. And Saul tells Dr. Mike to shut the Frak up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And Robert sort of argues like, well, he's delusional. He needs help. And Kyle's like, I just checked. Sorry, I wrote a bunch of notes here, so I'm kind of confusing the order of the conversation. Essentially, what happens without the play-by-play is Robert starts like trying to get them to go after Hilo, but then Ty sort of tells him to shut up, and Coddle reveals, I actually didn't check hadn't actually checked the boy when you asked me what if I had done the autopsy. I didn't want to go against my colleague. And he also says
Which
Sagittarians
is
annoy that
like, that's kind of what we freaking saying.
yeah, he's like, and he also says Sagittarians annoy the hell out of me. But you were right. The record said that there was none of the drug in his system, and he died of cell destruction. He was injected with toxin. He killed them. Um, and then Robert starts trying a different tactic, and basically arguing to Hilo, like, you should be on your knees trying because I saved your daughter's life. You know how bad this disease gets in the end? Um, and basically, now that he's been called out, he reveals the reason of why he was killing these people is like, why save them and why waste all these resources when they can go to the people who really deserve it? So overtly just, eugenicist, racist
I
asshole.
I am actually glad yes, he is. Don't get
Yes.
me
Yes.
wrong.
No, I know exactly what you're gonna say, and I agree with.
But I am glad that he brought up the use of resources on them, because otherwise, like, if he just wants them dead, all he has to do is wait.
Mm-hmm.
In theory. But what he brings up and like, to be clear, I fully believe he just wants to kill these people anyway, and this is his rationalization for it. But I do think it is a more interesting thing for him to have rationalized it around. It is a waste of resources for even the small number of them that say, actually, we do want medicine. They shouldn't get it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that interesting, because part of me was wondering, like, as soon as I made the decision, like, Hilo's going to turn out to be right, I did find myself thinking, how are they going to justify him going out of his way to do this when, in theory, he could just wait and they'll die of natural causes if there's disease spreading among them?
Mm-hmm.
And they do actually address that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like is the strong word for saying I liked this man's specific type of racism, but it is logically
I
checked
like
out.
I like the cut of his jib with the way he rationalized that racism, boy.
Clip that out of context, everybody. You should. Anyways, yes, so that basically happens, and he basically he makes the argument, it's like, who gets the medication when there's not enough, a Sagittarian or a Viper pilot? So again, sort of valuing one life over another. Someone has to make the tough choices. Look at them, they're like worms crawling on a hot rock. Again, more racism. Um, and he goes to Ty and basically makes an appeal to Ty at this moment. It's like, remember when you said, aside from a silent, is there anything you hate more than a Sagittarian? And Ty says, you know what I hate more? Being wrong. And he lets Hilo be the one to arrest Dr. Mike.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as he's taking her out, he mentions, I didn't harm D. He says her, referring to D, and Hilo says, right, she's one of the good ones.
Which I'm actually really glad somebody said out loud.
Mm-hmm.
If only because without that level of self-awareness, I might have accused the episode of having done that with her, since she is the only one who consistently is like, no, I don't believe this. Because yes, other ones have sought medical care, but they've also been like, they got so scared that they were willing to try it. She is still, and always has been, like, singled out separate from them, and kind of has been framed as one of the good ones. And while that's still not good, especially over the course of the show, the few times the Sagittarians come up, this has basically always been pointed out. I do appreciate that the show has some degree of self-awareness that it's doing this. It's still not a good thing, but again, I respect it slightly more, realizing that it wasn't done in ignorance.
It would work. I mean, it works fine in this episode. I'm glad they called it out. It would be so much better if we got more exploration of Dee's sense of relationship to her Sagittarian culture, because the only time it's come up is in this episode and way back in like Zarek's first episode, where she starts arguing with Billy about his sort of view on Sagittarians.
Yeah.
And that's really the only time we've got it mentioned.
Well, with her specifically anyway, Sagittarians, weren't they the group that were like, we want a hard line on abortion. Wasn't
They
that them, or was that somebody else?
maybe, presumably, I think so. I'm not entirely sure on
I
that.
think that was them.
Might be, but for D, just for D as a
Yes, D
character.
specifically, but I am just saying, like, in general, this group collectively has never been shown in a good light. And D de facto is one of the good ones because she says they're wrong.
Yes, yes. I wish we had been getting much more of her sense of feeling outside of her culture. There's by the time this comes out, this will already have been released. This episode have been released. There's a really good episode of Starfleet Academy, actually, that dives into this without spoiling too much. There's a Klingon character in that show who is overtly gay, but is also very when I use the term queer, is like sort of a outside the norm of what it is for a Klingon. He is shown to be not a warrior wanting to pursue medicine, and the episode is very much about him being like, I was ostracized from my culture as a Klingon because I wanted to not be the warrior Klingon. I wanted to seek medicine. However, when the Federation comes in and says we are trying to dictate what Klingon culture should be and homogenize their culture into the Federation, he goes, no, you shouldn't do that. When everyone else sort of expects him to be like, weren't you ostracized by them? Shouldn't you feel like, yes, you felt more comfortable in the Federation? Shouldn't you agree that the Federation should, assimilate them? And he's like, no, I may not fit into that culture, but you don't get to tell Klingons how to be Klingon, which I thought was
That's good.
it's a very nuanced episode, and I think it's really thoughtful. And it's like, I wish that we had gotten something like that with D, of like I am not typical for my culture. However, I have feelings about, like, we get some of that here, but it's just done as a way to sort of otherize.
I mean, like, it's really her expression towards her culture is just, it's borderline disgust.
Yes.
When it has come up. So
yes, which is shown to align with everyone else's. It's just sort of like she's different because she's part of that culture initially. Like, I guess what I would have liked is like, what's the reason for that? Were her parents like super fundamentalist and like, abusive towards her emotionally or physically or something like that for those reasons? Like, just some sense of why, I think, would have been interesting to explore with her, and we sadly have never gotten that.
I'm going to disagree only so far as her perspective has been so black and white. I don't think I would find any reason particularly interesting. I'd rather her just have a more nuanced view in the first damn place.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, yes. I mean, like, again, the Starfleet Academy episode.
Yeah, that sounds like a great threading of that needle.
Mm-hmm. I love that episode. I would highly recommend. It was the first episode of this. I've liked the first 3 episodes. I thought they were fun and fine. That episode was like, oh, this episode gets Star Trek really well. And so
that's cool. My mother tried to watch that show.
Starfleet Academy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did not get through the first episode.
I mean, oh God, it's been getting such toxic fucking discourse.
I mean, like,
it's not meant for, like, it's meant for younger kids. That's what the show
my mother's in her 70s, so yes. Like, yeah, this.
Yeah, I really love it. I think it's great, but again, it's not for everyone, and that's fine. Don't be a toxic, shitty person about it, and it's totally fine if you dislike it. But whatever. Anyways, one of the final scenes of the episode. Adama has called Hilo in, and he's basically there's hate and he basically gives a speech. He says there's hate and there's allowing hate. 2 sides of the same coin. We're guilty of both. It was weird phrasing on that. I like his point of like hate and allowing hate are 2 sides of the same coin. I like that bit of like, but him saying we're guilty of both. I'm like, I don't know. Hilo has been pretty vocal about not letting that go on.
I didn't write it down, but I did have the thought. Wait, who's the we?
Yeah,
is it we as in you and me, or are you like using the royal we like for meaning the rest of Galactica that isn't him?
Yeah, it was like the wording on that is weird because like his point about hate and allowing hate are 2 sides of the same coin. Absolutely agree. That's a very great point that the show is making. Should be said.
Yeah.
We're guilty of both. I'm like, you're saying that to Hilo, but I feel like Hilo,
we, bitch?
Yeah, he's like, if I were Hilo, I'd be like, don't include me in this. I was vocal about this from the start. Anyways, he goes, somewhere we got lost. You being the lone voice of the wilderness, where we were bound to stay that way. This is my ship and I owe you an apology. And Hilo says it's not necessary, and he says all the same you have it, which I do appreciate Adama doing. Yep. And again, I like his point about the hate and allowing hate are 2 sides of the same coin. And then Hilo, after he's dismissed, salutes Adama with a slight smile on his face. It's like, I'm been vindicated sort of thing. And he returns home to Athena and Hera, and they kiss.
Yep.
That is the end of the episode. What'd you think, Vera?
It cannot overcome its cardinal sin,
Mm-hmm.
but like it is far from the worst I've seen shows do this storyline. But I'm gonna say that at the same time saying it might actually be the best I've seen shows do this storyline, where like there's a person or a group of people who refuse treatment and the show just treats them like shit. Like Babylon 5 did it, House did it. Like I have personally not seen this concept brought into a show where it resulted in anything that I thought was worth doing. So this might legitimately be the best episode I've seen that does this storyline, which for me says nobody should be doing this damn storyline. Because if this is as good as we're gonna get, fucking stop.
I mean, I would argue. I mean, the pandemic aspect of it is its own thing, but I think Starfleet Academy recently did a very, like the episode I just said, did a similar-esque storyline. Though we have more respect for the Klingons than we do.
I was gonna say the Klingons are long established and have decades worth of nuance to them at this point.
Yes. But it is a similar style story to this to a degree. But anyways, I agree with you on this episode. It does not overcome that cardinal sin. It is a big mistake for it. That being said, it is one of the better versions of this type of episode that still has that cardinal sin, if that makes any sense. So,
yeah.
It gets a lot of the nuances right. It really just needed that. If it given the Sagittarians some perspective and more nuance, it actually would have been a really solid, I think, episode. But yeah, that is a very big cardinal sin for the episode to fall into. So
yeah.
Um,
as opposed to the Babylon 5, which technically did give its religious people who refuse medicine a voice and a chance to say what they believed, and then both the show and the primary character are focused on called them idiots for an hour. So
yeah, yep, very much so. Well, I'm not gonna do a spoiler minute. There's nothing really. This is a very self-contained episode. Nothing really to talk spoiler-wise here, other than the Baltar trial stuff, which we'll have more chance to talk about later. But yeah, with all that said, anything else, Vera?
Nah.
Alrighty, stuff time.
Stuff. You can look for my stuff by going to Council of Geeks. Patreon pays the bills and helps me do this as my living. The primary thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel, which has new videos every Saturday. I don't have a clue what's coming out close to this. It might be my ranking of Game Changer. It might be something else.
It's a good video, by the way.
Thank you. That having been said, if the Game Changer ranking video is not already out, it is up in early access for both Patreon and for YouTube members on the main channel. But there is that. There's also my secondary channel, The Break Room of Geeks, where this podcast exists in video form, and also where you can hear me talk about whatever I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. And I'm also on Blue Sky under Council of Geeks. That is the geeky stuff. There is, of course, also the spicy stuff. And for that, you can look for Vera Wild. Wild is spelled W-Y-L-D-E. And you can find increasingly spicy content. On YouTube. See, even without all the makeup, I can still do it.
I mean, you could always do it.
Damn right.
You can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style stuff. I just had a video as of this recording go up about the fun that's going on in Minnesota right now. But hopefully a very dark video, but a hopeful video, I guess is the best way to put it. But, people in Minnesota kicking ass. Really heartening to see. Check out that video. I have another video on the Ferengi coming out that I've been teasing for a while. It should be out by the time you hear this.
That was the comment that I meant to read. It might have actually been from last week. Somebody saying if I had a nickel for every time Jesse said the video about the Ferengi should be out by now.
Yeah. Well. I keep pushing it back because it's like, well, I've just released another video, so at least tied over the algorithm gods, whatever. Anyways, check that out. I'm on Instagram. I'm Blue Sky. I have a secondary channel, Just January After Dark, where I am reviewing Star Trek Starfleet Academy, including the aforementioned Klingon episode that I've been talking about. I am also on Nebula, which is the streaming service that houses my movie Identities, and also the upcoming show Subliminal that'll be coming out later this year that I directed an episode of. Oh, and I have started another podcast because I hate Vera. But it's just a chance to chat with another one of my friends, Spotted Giraffe, who is a very smart sci-fi person who we just wanted a chance to talk about each other about different sci-fi. So that is a bi-weekly podcast called Genre Friction that is coming out every other week. It has its own podcast feed, and it's also available on Just After Dark. So check that out as well. So yeah, and we'll probably have Vera on as a guest at some point.
Aww.
Just so we can make fun of her. Yep, that's it.
Polyamorous podcasting.
Exactly. All right. Well, with all that said, I hope you all are doing well. And Vera, do you have anything else?
Nah.
All right. I hope you all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.